Hello, by TheSuffolkRam from Random Nerds. Welcome to my review of the last of the Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who episodes, The Power of the Doctor. There might be some minor spoilers ahead, so if you have anything spoiled episode, turn off now. So if I had to summarise this episode in one sentence, it would be, wow, did not see that coming. I won't spoil what happens at the end of the episode, but if you've not found the spoiler yet, you've not seen it yet, go watch it, because frankly, it's really not what I was expecting. But we're not going to talk about the episode as a whole. So, like I said, it's Jodie Whittaker's last episode, and as they tend to do in its last episode for Doctor, they tend to sort of call back some of the older companions or like revisit little bits, and it very much goes on the route of let's pull back some people from the past. So we knew Sophie Aldred, Ace, and Janet Fielding, who played Tegan, will be returning characters again. Last seen back in the, Sophie Aldred would have been one of the last ones, so she'd been like late 80s, like 80, I want to say 87 to 89, I think it was, and Tegan would have been early 80s. So I can't remember the exact time frame she was with the Doctor. Well, off the top of my head, I have to look up. But it's nice to see those guys back. Janet Fielding very much felt like Tegan again. Sophie Aldred, yeah, she got sort of back the world of Ace, but seemed a little less comfortable in the skin again, as it were. So, briefly going into the episode. So the episode is the first half of this episode, or I say episode special, is very much a case of Christian has this habit of rushing, trying to get an awful lot of story in a very small space of time. In actual fact, he probably doesn't need to. The episode begins with the Cybermen attacking a train to steal a cargo, which becomes things later on. And that whole bit is kind of irrelevant. It doesn't really... What it sets up, they didn't really need to do. You could have cut that bit. What it does do, and this is a milestone first part, is basically give Dan, John Bishop's character, an excuse to leave the series and leave the episode. And he leaves basically right at the start. I'm assuming there's a scheduling conflict to prevent John Bishop actually filming more of the episode, because literally the first 10 minutes he leaves, which is unusual. Normally a companion leaves at the end of an episode. So to see him go right at the start was a bit of a shock. Or maybe they want to work more on Yaz again. If that felt a bit strange to sort of write him up so quickly, so early. So after the train attack, we start to split ourselves into multiple timelines. Another Chris Chibnall thing he likes to do is have multiple timelines all going on at once. Also, he did it in the Flux. He does the same thing here. We basically start with modern day and 1916. Obviously, Doctor Who has done similar things in the past, but this seems to be a favourite of Chris Chibnall to do this. Again, it feels like he's trying to it felt like he really wanted to be like a lot longer episode. It felt like it should be sort of like a two-parter or even a 2-hour-long episode to try and fit it in so far. But we find ourselves in 1916 Russia, and the Master has returned again. Was a warning. Masquerading as Rasputin in Russia, and he basically is the episode is basically his sort of master plan to end the Doctor. Like I said before, so much happens in this episode right at the start. The first episode is just literally story beats, and it doesn't feel kind of put in there for the sake of. It feels almost like he went, "Oh, I really want to have that in there. I really want to have that in there." Not rather than going, "Actually, I can't get it in. I will separate and do a set, perhaps do another thing, or I just can't fit it in. I'll just put it in anyway." There's an adage, and anyone who does any sort of craft or media, it's not about what you put in, it's about what you take out. And there was too much in this. First off, the threat, if you've seen the trailer, Cybermen, Daleks in it. Realistically, we didn't need both. They could have got away with doing one of them. And I think it would have worked better with one, because they had to have this sort of like two dual threat going on thing. And there's a plot point around the Daleks with a friendly Dalek which doesn't really go anywhere. It's just it feels very out of blue. Was it a trap? Was it made up? It just felt very out of the left field there. The second half of the episode, though, however, paces down. Once they've done all that establishing work in the first half, they can then slow down and it feels better. The second half feels a lot better than the first. I was actually kind of like so much was going on so quickly, it just didn't flow. But it flowed a bit too abruptly. The second half flows a lot more nicely now. They've got established. Again, it feels like it should have been a two-part type thing. First part setting a lot of stuff up, with the second part rewarding it. It felt like it was been crammed from say 2 hours into 1.5 hours. But I will say that the second half flowed a lot better. I did actually enjoy it. I wasn't enjoying. I thought I was a bit for the first bit, but the second bit I did actually really enjoy. And I would say the episode overall, it's definitely the greatest Doctor Who episodes, but it's okay. It's pretty okay. That's not okay. It's a bit unfair. It's between okay and pretty and decent. That's on my scale there. Okay, decent, fine. So obviously this is Jodie Whittaker's swan song. Jodie Whittaker's tale on Doctor Who. I personally like Jodie Whittaker. However, she has been lumbered some absolutely stinker of scripts. I felt Peter Capaldi had a similar issue in one of his seasons. I think it was his second season or first season he was in. He had a lot of issue where he lumbered some pretty awful scripts and sort of dragged through. Jodie Whittaker has unfortunately been stuck through. Chris Chibnall's not been a good showrunner. He just hasn't. He hasn't. We've always discussed the episode, he's cramming too much in, and his storylines do feel very much like that. And another factor I notice he tends to like a lot is Deus Ex Machina. Something just happening out of the blue. The amount of times in this episode a character just turns up out of the blue, it's like, where the hell did you come from? Why are you even here? And there's no background explanation. You just have to accept it's there. It's fine. There's no background, no one line. Oh, I found it here because of this reason. They just turn up for no real sense. That happens so many times. There's times where a character gets rescued by somebody else, and how on earth do they know they're in trouble? They just happen to randomly go back there and find it in trouble and sort it out. There's lots of that going on. Again, going back to his throwing everything in and sticking. Anyway, I digress. Jodie Whittaker's last episode, and I'm quite sad to see her go. I was a little bit sad at the very end. It got a bit emotional. I thought, oh, that's quite sad to see her go. It's also obviously a goodbye to Yaz, played by Mandip, and she obviously, because it's a cutting off all the branches, as it were. What was nice about this episode is, and this is a minor spoiler, they brought back not just a lot of older companions, not just ACT can appear, but quite a few other ones do briefly turn up as well. But also we get to see a lot of the old Doctors as well. It was nice to see Sylvester McCoy, Colin Bay appear saying, I can't remember the name of the chap who played William Hartnell, because William Hartnell's obviously gone. But he turned up. No Tom Baker, perhaps he was too unwell to do it. He's quite old, bless him. But it was nice to see all those characters back again. It did feel there was a little bit of a nostalgia sort of kick going in there from when I grew up as a kid and watching these old serials and knowing them. It's like, oh, it's nice to see them again. It felt a bit of a nostalgia kick. Strangely enough, none of the new Who Doctors reappeared. There was no Chris Eccleston, there was no Dave Tennant, no Peter Capaldi. None of them reappeared. It was all old Who Doctors that appeared. But that was quite nice. It was quite nice, but again, wasn't necessary for that plot point. Yes, it was. It did sort of tie and had a reason behind it, so that worked okay. Some of the other bits have turned up, and I did like to see what happens at the end with the other companions, what they do at the end. No spoilers again. I did quite like that because I thought that sort of makes sense to have up. Also, can't go without saying that Sash Alwyn is playing the Master again. He plays the Master fantastically. I love his Master. He's just right. He's got just that sort of like slightly psychotic, evil glint to him. I loved him in Spy 4. I loved him in other episodes. I loved him in this. Absolutely great seeing him back again. Some of the stuff he gets up to, some of the stuff he says, he's so creepy, so well done. All credit to that actor. Fantastic job. Brilliant to see him again. Love seeing him in this again. Hopefully, we don't know if this is the end of him. We may see him again in the future. Probably not, but we can dream. So my final thoughts. Too fast paced at the start, slows on nicely. Too many characters returning for really no good reason that doesn't make any sense. Too many plot points that just get thrown in and dropped off unnecessarily. It definitely could have done a script editor to go over the script and say, come on, Chris, we don't need all this. And actually pull stuff out. You know, as I say, it's important. What's more important is what you leave out, not what you put in. And that's what really this episode could have done with more of. But actually, you know, I feel it was a pretty good send-off for Jodie. I will miss Jodie Doctor Who in the future episodes. And it was overall a very good episode. It's not the best episode I've ever seen, but I enjoyed it. It was good enough for us, and it finished off well. Compared to that Sea Devil episode we had at the beginning part of the year, which was frankly awful, this is a lot more better, a lot nicer. So, bye Jodie. Been nice knowing you, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the future. So thank you much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, perhaps like to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We do lots of things here. We do podcasts every other week, while previous podcast we did last night, so you can check that out if you want. It's basically two of us just rambling on about nonsense. We do gameplay for nights, so you can come and join us on the Twitch streams. You can join me on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/TheSuffolkRam. That's every other Tuesday at roughly 8:30, 9 o'clock time. We're currently playing through a game called Demio. The edited streams get put up on the channel sort of a week later. It's been over a couple of weeks, so you can watch those there. And also you can check out my other reviews. There's other reviews on here for all last like 4 or 5 seasons or 2 that are on here. So check those out. So thank you much for coming here and joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in 2023 when the next season or 2 starts. So until then, see you later.